I saw the this kind of, I said wave of hysteria and like vitriol against this guy, and actual lambasting him with death threats over and over again, people going and smearing blood on his office and stuff. And I just was really, really horrified, because I was like, holy shit, this happened to me on a really like micro scale with the Chris Kyle stuff. I was just like getting like incessantly peddled with death threats, and that's awful. It's wrong. You can't do that to someone. We're all human beings, and you can't do that, even if you hate someone or think that they, if you personally want someone to die. Like, you can't just be like, you should die because you hunted a lion, you should die because you wore a fuck Chris Kyle shirt. I just think that apply it across the board, and this kind of online bullying and like driving people into a hole or doxing them and exposing their personal information because you disagree with something that they did. It's wrong.
Mia Farrow doxed the dentist.
What?
Mia Farrow. Yeah, she put the dentist's address online.
Wow.
She's very so
Mia Farrow,
sad.
that's the last person that I would ever expect to do that. That's
Crazy
so interesting.
bitch. She's a crazy
That's so
bitch.
interesting. Wow.
She's to fuck Woody Allen. What do you want from her?
It's not a joke.
She's mad
it's
at
not
the world.
It's not a joke to get doxxed and to get like peddled with death threats.
Well, you had that Chris Kyle T-shirt, the fuck Chris Kyle T-shirt. Was that what did it? Was that, or was it the being on the show that did it?
So you did warn me, just in case people haven't heard the last episode that I was on. I talked about how Chris Kyle was a sociopath. I talked about how he lied in his book about, killing people, beating dogs or horses so bad that his hand broke. But the thing is, he's lied about so many things. Like Jesse Ventura's proven that he lied about that fight and stuff. So we can't really trust what he said in his book. But I think it's just odd that someone would lie about killing black people in Hurricane Katrina. Like, why would you brag about that? You think that you would brag about a story about like saving a child, but instead he talked about how he was actually bragging about like slaughtering people who were
Looters,
looting, which
executing
is super
poor
fucking
people
weird.
who are stealing things.
Super fucking weird. And I just want to make it very clear that I have a lot of respect for veterans and soldiers who choose to defect. There's a lot of heroic people like Ben Griffin, special operations in the UK, who basically went to Iraq and just refused to go back. So there's a ton of amazing veterans and soldiers who I think that should be praised, especially when we're looking at something like the Iraq War, which was a complete disaster. Countless dead, countless maimed. Now ISIS is erupted. So when we have these heroes that are mythologized in our society, and when we have someone like Chris Kyle, who's the pinnacle of what the hero should be from that war, and rewriting the history of the Iraq War, I think it's really dangerous. So I just, I talked about what I really felt about Chris Kyle, and people got really upset. My friend Leo, who runs this like clothing company, printed a shirt, a one-off shirt, fuck Chris Kyle, and he was just like, he wanted me to wear it. I was like, yeah, fuck it, let's take a photo, and I posted on my Instagram account. My Instagram account like doesn't have that many followers, so I was like, I did not know the shitstorm that would be ensuing whatsoever. So, wore the fuck Chris Kyle shirt, tits out. 2 weeks go by, and I was like, whatever, nothing happened. I wake up to it almost started where I was like, oh shit, this is going to be a really good art project, because I was getting peddled with like the craziest shit you've ever heard, like rape, like genital mutilation so detailed that I was like, is this ISIS actually writing these comments? Because it seems like these people actually admire ISIS, because it's like the most grotesque, disturbing things about my vagina and what they wanted ISIS to do to it, that I was like, holy fuck, like you guys must have like some sick admiration for ISIS.
Now, when you saw that, do you report those people?
So it started, I remember I was going to Baltimore, and I just was getting it so frequently that I was like, holy fuck. So my Instagram account, I had to like make it private immediately, because people had gone through and said, we're going to put our raping shoes on and find you, all this shit, So I shut that down, and then I went on Facebook and saw that, every single art post that I had on my art page, every single public. So I had to I didn't want to shut it down, because I was like, I don't want to defer to these threats, but at the same time it was getting so extreme that I couldn't handle like the volume of death and rape threats. Because at first I was like cataloging them, and I was like, okay, I'm taking screenshots of all these, I'm going to make this giant like art project, and I was like, no, fuck this is like not like, this is actually getting way too crazy. And then I got doxxed by this guy, this veteran, who basically just wrote me, and he was like, hey, I just posted your address on all the veteran and sniper forums. I was like, there's sniper forums? And he was like telling people, how to find you. And then I found out that my mom got doxxed. So my mom's personal information got exposed, and so luckily I was already moving in a week. But I was just like, this is batshit crazy. So I tried to contact the cops for like I think there was like 10 really graphic, like, I'm going to come to your house this Saturday, cut your clit off, like let you bleed to death on the floor, like just, I mean, things like that. I was like, and it was the person's public Facebook page. You can see his like license plate in the photo. He had like a baby. You know, they're just like these people out there who are just totally proud to be like completely homicidal and rapey and really sociopathic acting. So I went to the cops and I was just like, look, there's like 5 people who I know who they are. They've said that they're going to come kill me or rape me or cut my clit off. And I was like, is there anything that you can do? And they basically just took the report, and nothing ever happened.
Well, you're supposed to go to the FBI for that.
Dude, it was so funny. I called the FBI, and they're like, oh, online threats? Yeah, just go to this website and file it. Like, there's probably so many online threats going on every day.
Yeah,
Can you
at this
even
point,
imagine?
right?
Oh, my God.
Especially with clit killing.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of clit stabbers out there.
The thing that was just, it just upset me so much because
So
people
specific.
people were comparing me to like Pamela Geller. They're like, okay, Abby can wear a Fuck Chris Kyle shirt and like Pamela Geller can have the Draw Muhammad contest. I'm like, first of all, stop deifying Chris Kyle as like a prophet. Like, that's insane. Second of all, we're not talking about a marginalized portion of society, which is like Arabs who are basically like this generation's like demonized population. I was like, we're talking about Chris Kyle, which is like the peak of the empire, this, you know, homicidal soldier who's like glorified in war propaganda and shit. So you can't really compare the two. But I just think it's really important to understand the real history of the Iraq War. And I think American Sniper really not only whitewashed it, but just doubled down on the myth. And, you know, the establishment chooses these war heroes to perpetuate, and Chris Kyle is not a hero. I think that there are countless heroes that we would be much more appropriate to hail.
Well, it's hard to, when you look at a story like the American Sniper story, it's hard to figure out what really happened because there were definitely some fabrications. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to figure out, okay, military people, when they retire, they do not get much money. It's piss poor, and it's quite an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment as far as the way they're treated medically. The UFC has worked really hard to provide money for the Intrepid Institute for traumatic brain injuries, which is a huge issue with soldiers because the medical community has made so many incredible advances that people live that didn't live, 30, 40 years ago. So now these guys are living with some significant brain injuries. And while we were doing one of these fundraisers, it was hitting me. I was like, why the amount of billions and billions of dollars that are spent on this war, how the fuck could they not allocate a similar amount to take care of the soldiers? It's because the soldiers don't have a voice. Yeah. Like, nobody gives a fuck for them. Totally. Nobody cares. So when these guys retire, there's not a lot of options. And so I was trying to figure out, okay, why would a guy like Chris Kyle make up all these stories? He was talking about shooting carjackers in Texas that turned out to not be true. He said he was shooting people in Katrina that were looting. There was all these stories that didn't hold water. And I was trying to think, do you think maybe this guy was trying to fabricate a bunch of crazy shit and put it in his book because it would make the book more sensational and sell, and this would be a way that this guy could provide for his family? In some sort of
you
way.
mean like, bringing it back to the human level? I'm sure. But I mean, I keep going back to the people who just... It's like, I feel for soldiers who come back with traumatic brain injuries, but I do honestly think, especially, dating a veteran who was in the initial invasion of Iraq and stuff, there are people who join the military because they want to kill people. A lot of people join the military because they have no options. A lot of people join the military because they believed in the Iraq War and the war on terror. And a lot of people just want to slaughter people. And I think Chris Kyle was one of those people, unfortunately.
Do you think you become one of those people once you get out there?
I think it's exacerbated, astronomically,
Once you shoot the first few people, that was a part of the movie, is that the first person he shot was a kid. First of all, the movie wasn't good, and I was really confused by that.
You didn't think it was good?
No, thought it was terrible. I thought it was a terrible movie. It just wasn't well done. It was
Really?
like a clunky, made-for-TV movie.
Oh,
That's what
wow.
it felt like to me. Did you see it?
No.
It's not good. It's not a good movie. And Ari Shafir was talking about how bad it was, and I thought when Ari was saying that he was just being hypercritical, because
Yeah.
Ari hates a lot of things that I
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
So I'm like, maybe he's. So, but I watched. I was like, this is not a good movie. It's just not a good movie. And Bradley Cooper's a really good actor, but it was wooden. I
Right.
felt like it was just didn't have a life to it. Like
But he
there's
had the ghost of Chris Kyle in him. That's what he
is
said
that
in
what he said?
interviews. Yeah,
Did he
said
really say
he
that?
just felt like it was just.
Oh, man. Did he really say that?
Yeah, that's when I was like,
Boy,
"Oh,
he's
Bradley
fucking-
Cooper's a
he's fucking
douchebag.
going for it.
He's going for all in,
Going
all
for
in.
Hollywood superstardom. He wants to be the guy.
Shoot right to the top. The
Just
thing that
Not a good movie.
Yeah, and aside from just the movie being bad, I think it's just unfortunate to kind of personalize this character so much when, ignoring. Basically, people came out of the movie saying Iraqis are savages and it was all like justified because they're looking through the eyes of someone like Chris Kyle when really, I mean, look at Iraq today. Millions of refugees. I mean, as I just said, the country is
Terrific.
just completely destroyed. And it's like, what about those people? So it's important. Yeah, we can humanize Chris Kyle. And of course, we can humanize every soldier that's coming back because they were sold false pretenses to go to war. But I just have to feel more for the people who were just the occupants of the country, and they just were casualties of this mess.
Well, I think we should feel for all humans equally,
Yes.
especially people that we don't know, and the idea that they're not as valuable because they live over there.
Yeah.
If there was something that happened over here where there was a foreign invasion that caused 1 million casualties from innocent civilians, we would be up in arms and horrified. And I don't know what the real numbers are for the Iraq invasion because it's hard to figure it out. There's a bunch of different argued numbers. Let's say it's the lowball number, which is more than 100,000 innocent civilians. That's horrific. It's horrific to think that that's the lowball number, and the highball number is somewhere around, I think, 2 million.